Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and the eternally spooky Quindy, along with her various living or dead minions, Justin or John. I'm not sure if they're living or dead today. It's Friday. Could be either, really. How are you all? How are you all? Oh, that sounds good, actually, Dogfather. Pumpkin keto smoothie sounds really good, actually. Nom. Nom nom. And I eat salad every lunch, so I'm on a routine. But I love my routines, so it's all good. Sets that were available during Bones 5.5. You should be able to just... Oh, 5.5, that would have been online. Oh, that would have been after in Pledge Manager, right? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure. Might be able to email Reaper for it. If it is really, really important, Vimanaqua, you may be able to email Reaper help and... Yeah, oh, that's true. Reaper Kickstarter discussion board. Somebody probably has a spreadsheet. Yeah, good point, Turgeon. Of course somebody has a spreadsheet, right? Of course they do, because that's what people do. Yeah. Yeah, every day with the salad for me. Sometimes twice a day if we have salad with our whatever protein we're having for dinner. I'm very low carb. I did my calc this morning to figure out how low carb, and I'm about 30 grams a day. Not keto for me, but low carb. Very low carb. Check pins in the Discord Kickstarter channel. That's a good one too. Oh, okay, there we go. Cool, Quindy. Quindy to the rescue with a link even. Dang. Aren't we awesome? Like, and Quindy is the queen of awesome. Queen of spooky awesome. How about that? The queen of goth spooky awesome. All right. Without further ado, I'm not a spreadsheet person. I will admit it. I've tried. And it's funny because I'm really analytically brained. But my brain, like, relies more on, like, I guess, like, physical organization and a gut knowledge and memory, which works for me because I keep things small. But would not work with a bigger thing, which is why I start feeling overwhelmed, I suspect. Those of you with spreadsheets have a way to actually quantify your vast miniatures collections. I do not. Hey, Mobrock, with the 26-month Tier 1 sub. Thank you. Thank you. And a 26-month streak to make us all feel, you know, those of us who don't remember to renew our subs, make us feel slightly inferior, but only slightly. Because Mobrock is too nice to want us to feel inferior. Right, Mobrock? Oh, nice. Yeah, that sounds really good, Dogfather. Nom nom. I really like the low carbon keto style of eating myself. Tasty, tasty. In fact, you will appreciate this then. Tonight's supper, which I put in the marinating bag this morning, is a 5-spice Chinese pork belly that I will roast later. Which is a special thing that we only really get once a year around the holidays because freaking pork belly. But yeah. So yeah, that was not why I was late though. I was late because in the process of doing that, Ms. Kiki had a bounce up moment and a plate got broke, and so I had to stop and actually clean up the stoneware shards on the floor and hustle the Kiki to her crate so she did not get any in her paws and things like that. So that was when I texted Quindy and I'm like, I'm gonna be a little late. It happens. You know what? If I ever owned a puppy that didn't have a bounce up break something moment, I would wonder what was wrong with the puppy. I think every single one. At least she wasn't Thorn. Okay, Thorn gets the record. Thorn bounced up, knocked my brand new iPhone 10 out of my hand. It landed, and it was before I got a case. I had just ordered a case for it. Landed on the ground, shattered. Screen shatters. Go in, get it replaced, come back. Next day, Thorn knocks it out of my hand again, breaks again. So that would be the Thorn record, and as long as Kiki doesn't hit that, I think we're good. Yeah. Well, and the disadvantages of big dogs, right? Yeah, pork belly. Oh, that's cool. That's cool, Dogfather. Yeah. Gosh, I haven't had knockwurst for a very long time. I'm more of a bratwurst fan, to be fair, but still tasty. Tasty, and I like sauerkraut. Are you doing keto, or are your family doing keto with you, Dogfather? Or is it just you? Alrighty, what do I want to do? I want to do the groundwork first. And I do want the groundwork, I was thinking about, I want to introduce some lighter parts in the groundwork, but I also need to keep it fairly dark because Kitty needs to show up against it here. So the darker the backwork is, the better Kitty will show up. However, if it's really dark, Kitty will show up glaringly well and maybe be too distracting. So we kind of have to throw kind of an intermediate thing. We could also make Kitty's bones darker, and that would help. I think I'm going to mix a brown and a gray to start, I think. Let's see. What gray and what brown, though? Do I have... No, I don't want that one. Where's my stone gray? There's stone gray. Let's actually use stone. And let's use a really dark brown. Let's use some brown liner. Oh, okay. Just cutting back on the carbs, not necessarily. That's fair. That's what I do. Honestly, I feel just as good as I did on keto, Dogfather. I think it's just key is just cutting out the sugar and crap. So yeah, power to you. Awesome. I hope it makes you feel good. For me, it really affects my energy levels. I have a lot more energy, a lot less tired. Then when I threw the fasting thing in, it's not really, I guess it is a fast though. Like when you stop eating right after dinner and you don't eat again until breakfast, it's like 13 or 14 hours in my case. I was an inveterate snacker before. And this is my first time really trying to be hardcore about this. Like before I would always be like, oh, maybe it won't eat after 9, you know, that kind of thing. So it wasn't even a full 12-hour before I ate the next morning, but I've started doing the whole stop eating. Usually I've eaten my last thing before 7, and then I don't eat again until breakfast. And on low carb, I'm not hungry. Yeah, it should. It should, Dogfather. Because it should help stabilize your blood sugar. That's one of the great things keto does, because you're not taking in the stuff that spikes your blood sugar. But yeah, the sleep thing, if you're up for it, I don't know if you already, a lot of people already do this, but I started not eating after 7:30 at night, and then I don't usually make my own breakfast until around 8:30. Like I start making breakfast around 8:15. I don't eat it until after 8:30. Sometimes, some days it's even later. So doing a minimum 13-hour fast, if you call it that, and that has really helped my sleep. It's weird. Like I started doing it just like you, just hoping to help with weight loss. And then my Fitbit told me that my sleep scores for the last like 5 nights have been 87s or 88s, which is really good. Really good. So, yeah, but you know what, Dogfather? My philosophy on that, and it may or may not work for you. Of course, this is always like, everybody's different, right? But I've just decided not to stress about that. I'm going to allow myself to eat stuff on Thanksgiving that I like. And we'll have to I'll just try to polish off the leftovers pretty fast, which shouldn't be a challenge because, leftovers are tasty. And then I'm just going to go back on the wagon. Like, let's face it, it's what we do anyway, but usually with a lot more recrimination. Right? It's like, oh no, I ate bad food. Oh, I'm going to eat it. I need it. No, instead of this way, it's like, all right, I'm going to eat bad food for these 3 days, and then I'm back on. And if you're not doing keto, then there's really no downside to that because, you're not shattering ketosis and then going back in. Yeah, that's good. That's good, Dogfather. So yeah, I'm ready for Thanksgiving. I know it's going to be a bit tough. I know Christmas is going to be tough, but you know what? The 3 weeks in between, or the 4 weeks in between, I guess the 3.5 weeks in between those bingey things, I'll just try to be good. I've found that being forgiving with yourself is like the way to go, because you really, there's no point in being bad to yourself about it. You did it, right? You've done it before. You might do it again. May as well just say, okay, but if I do it, I've got a plan. I'm just going to go back on afterwards. As long as you can do that without doing it all the time. I know some people are very susceptible to food and sugar addiction, and they need to be a lot tighter on it than I do. They just cannot. I do try to make low-carb versions of my Thanksgiving stuff, though, when I can. I definitely make gluten-free versions, and I try to make low-carb. So I did 4 drops of stone gray to 2 drops of brown liner, and that is the color it makes. It's a nice, warmer, darker gray. I'm going to mix up some straight brown liner. I love stuffing too, Dogfather. Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I'm one of those people too that I can't just change my diet. I have to change my exercise habit as well. So now that Kiki is good on longer walks, it's great because I get my noon walk, my pre-lunch walk with her, and then I do an evening walk just for myself because I really enjoy walking by myself and just like putting in a podcast or an audiobook and just kind of walking and having some alone time. So then I do that in the evening right after supper, and it's not like walking like super fast or anything. It's just getting my steps in. That's one thing that Noom taught me when I took Noom. Noom taught me that you don't have to go out and like run. You just have to go out and move. And so my evening walk became a relaxing thing instead of a, oh my God, I have to exercise thing. And that made all the difference in my head. Oh, wow. Well, the turkey itself isn't unhealthy. You can certainly pair it with healthy sides. You don't have to go the whole Thanksgiving, right? But if you get to do any sweets in it, I see. Yeah, Grey Wolf. Yeah, there are people like that. There's psychological like research on that. That some people are just more susceptible to the addictive powers of sugar, and it's not your fault. Like it's just the way that your brain has gotten wired. And sometimes the answer is just to be pretty hardcore with yourself, yeah. Because we have a limited supply of willpower in the day, and you're not always going to be able to resist it if you start. I know. There are days when I'm really stressed. That's when my danger signs are, when I'm stressed. Then the sugar starts to really call to me. Yeah, exactly. But you don't have to do that. You just have to move, like... Yeah, brain chemistry is complicated. Yeah, and worse, when you do eat a lot of sugar, your brain gets really used to it, and it's just like a little addict. Probably the most helpful thing I learned from this book that I was reading lately was that people just a little shift in the way you think about it can be really helpful for resisting cravings because it's not you. It's not all of you. It's one little part of your brain that's addicted to that, and it's your brainstem. Your brainstem's going, I want it. And if you can imagine your brainstem as a little whiny child that's really annoying, that has helped me resist the call of the chocolate when I'm stressed. Because when I get that craving and I'm like, I want chocolate, I have to stop and realize, no, you don't want chocolate. You know that if you eat chocolate, you won't stop at this point. Your brainstem is a whiny little nit, and it wants chocolate, so it can just steal. And I loved that. Like, they have that, and it helped. It actually has helped. It's really funny. No, but imagine it. It's not you, Grey Wolf. It's not you. It's your little brainstem. Your little brainstem is a little whiny child. And it doesn't care if you're overweight, and it doesn't care if you feel trashy. It just wants its hit. And if you can get in that personifying that part of you that's trying to get you to do it and recognize it's not your whole body or your whole brain. It's just one little part, the little part that really likes sugar and wants to soothe its stress. And it's cool that it wants to soothe stress. But it's not cool that it's making you go to a bad place to do it. So yeah, personifying my little whiny brainstem has actually helped me in the last few days. Yeah, but you know what? It's not far off, Agent Marvel. Brain science is really fascinating stuff, just like you were saying, Grey Wolf, brain chemistry. Your brain is made up of a whole bunch of different thought-provoking. Not all your thoughts just come from your brain at large. Your thoughts come from all different parts of your brain. From the part that's reporting that you have a pain in your toe, to the part that is craving sugar, to the part that's worrying about, the test you have to take tomorrow. They're all different. And and yeah, there's communication, but it's not just you. People get it I really need sugar. No, you really don't. That little part of your brain needs sugar. So for that helped me a lot. It was interesting. So what I might have to do is make some keto cookies with some erythritol and maybe cut the sweetener down so that they're only a little bit sweet. That's one thing I've been trying to do, is adjust to less sweet things, cutting down on the amount slowly so I can ease off. And maybe I'll just do that instead of chocolate. Because I can make some pretty darn tasty cookies, let me tell you. The other thing this book, and otherwise I'm not like, I think the book is a little fanatical unless you really are a food addict. Like if you seriously have bad food addiction, then I would recommend the book Bright Line Eating. But it really is like, it's for people who really can't control. And if you've got a little bit of willpower and you've got a little bit of I can keep off it, if I put my mind to it, then I wouldn't recommend it. I feel like she's a little bit too inflexible and a little bit hardcore. But she does go heavy into the science of food disorders, and I really appreciated that. She gave me the brainstem thing. And the other thing that taught me, which was really cool, I'm going to mix up, and I'm going to mix up a brown color too, guys. Let's get some variance in our earth, okay? Let's try, maybe let's try some nut brown mixed with some, hey there, Leviathan. We're talking holiday eating and stress eating. Yeah, out of sight, out of mind does work for me as well, Grey Wolf. Keto cookies. Not quito cookies. You're funny, Pendrake. Interesting, Zachariah. But yeah, the other thing it did for me was she was talking about how when you have sugar, it makes your, makes your little brainstem light up and really want more. So I stopped the last time last few times I've had chocolate, I just stop and I eat a piece and I just kind of pay attention. And sure enough, like the craving, like even though like my brain enjoyed the chocolate, it's like right after all it wants is more. And so you can actually feel like the sugar addiction kind of thing. You can really feel it if you stop and just pay attention. And that was really off-putting for me because I like to kind of be in control of my world. And so the fact that I was really being controlled by my little, subconscious brain when I wasn't paying attention and I was just thinking, oh, I just really need chocolate right now instead of, oh, my, sugar-addicted little brainstem wants chocolate. So I think it's going to make a difference heading forward. I'm sure I'm going to have relapses. I'm going to use a drop of Griffin Golden Brown in here just to warm it up. And I'm also going to add a little bit of a white. Probably, could use any white. I'll grab Karen Stone. Anxiety snacker. Yep. Yeah. If you have stress management tactics, that's always good, right? It's most important. There we go. One big drop of Cairn Stone, which I really like as an off-white. I really like it, especially if you're doing earth work. All right, let us do some in-focus work to get Kitty in focus here. In focus, Kitty. Kitty's got a large depth of field, so this could be hard. But we'll get more or less in focus for all of Kitty. Yeah, I mean, that's if it's just like a tablespoon, like still 20 carbs, right? 20 grams of carbs or something, but it's at least it's better than eating a whole bag of chocolate. You are absolutely right, Grey Wolf. Now, so from there, instead of a whole tablespoon, you could try to work yourself down to 2 teaspoons and see if you can scale it back. I'm all for life hacking. Like, whatever works for you, and then try to double down and see how far you can push it. Just because I want all you guys to be healthy and like to hang around for a long time. Because I like you. I like you. I want me to be around. I want to live till I'm 100. Much as I can see, like, much as I get disgruntled with the world sometimes, I still want to see, like, what the world is like. So I want to hang out. I want to hang out in this world for as long as I can. Thank you. All right. So now we've got a dark gray, a really dark brown mixed with a bit of gray, a lighter gray, and a kind of a beigey brown. So no, I did not. Trash, if you can you drop me the link in Discord messages? I would love to see it. David and I had originally planned to go this year, but then we got the puppy, so it was impossible. It was made impossible by the puppy. Thank you. Or if you want, you can drop it. If you're in my, I don't know if you're in my Patreon. If you're not, then forget the suggestion. But if you're in my Patreon, you can drop it in the Discord under, I don't know, off topic or color talk or competitions, whatever. Probably competitions. Or you just give it to me and then I'll drop it in competitions. Because, yeah, we really want to go. It is one of the best shows in the world. But Papa was just not old enough to have a puppy sitter for a week. Do you know if they announced where the next venue is? Trash? Did you hear? Because I was kind of hoping it would be, like, I'd heard some rumors about France, and I was, like, so into that, if that is the case. Oh, did he? Awesome! Oh, grats, Eric. Well, I'll have to tell David so that he can send him a grats. That's really cool. It is not common for an American painter to get best in show over there. That is really good. I'm going to mix up just some Karen Stone also, guys, so that we can do some, we'll do some wet blending, we'll do some stippling, we'll do all sorts of stuff. Oh, okay, general overview of the show. Super, yeah, I think that was the Dutch one, right? Or was it Dutch? Was this the Netherlands one? Or was it different? Or no, it's San Savino, right? Sorry. I was thinking wrong. I was thinking of the wrong show. I was thinking World Expo. Sorry, my confusion. My confusion. Brain is not fully functioning yet. But okay, yeah, it is smallish, I believe, but it is also a very high quality show, as I recall. Because it's kind of like Crystal Brush, isn't it? It's smaller, but it's really got some amazing work in it. Most of these are going to be thin 2-to-1, guys, just so you know. My base coat, dark gray, is going to be more like a 4-to-1. And the really dark brown, the brown liner plus gray, also about a 4-to-1. Just because I want those to cover a little better. When it comes to mixing in my lights, I don't want too much of a like streakiness, or I don't want to have to fight the blend, so I'm going to make them a little thinner. Oh yeah, super intense, yeah. Yeah, that's right, David. I mean, David loves to compete at a really high level, and so we've been talking about going. We'll probably, if Kiki's in good state and we can do it next year, maybe we'll do it next year. But we also, unfortunately, we also have our honeymoon, our year later honeymoon to Hawaii in October. So I don't know that we're going to be doing Hawaii in October and then San Savino in November, sadly. Oh, I want my Reaper brush for this, or maybe I want something a little bigger. You know what I need? I need a bigger, fatter brush. I need to get like a size 2 something. Maybe I should order myself a Reaper size 2. Just for stuff like this, for base coating, right? Because you want to do it fast. I suppose I could do one of my... Maybe I have a flat over here. Yeah, it's poofy, but it's there. I won't be able to use it for around Kitty's feet, but I'll be able to use it for other places, so... Okay. Oh, but that feels so big. I want something more precise. How about this? We'll try this. It's not as poof because I haven't abused it as much. But yeah, I really would like to go, but I'd also, I don't know, I want to have something really good for Monty, and I haven't. I feel like I have a couple things in progress, but it's a show I think also rewards sculpting and conversion. And I don't have a project like that planned right now. So I would just probably end up bringing my usual stuff, and it would be okay, but it wouldn't be winners. Not that I really care about that these days. Other than really wanting to bring my best to the next Golden Demon we go to. Alright, so we're just gonna... It helps if you have a brush that you can kind of jam into crevices with the cork stuff. This is a synthetic pendrite. Although sometimes I do like to use sables. Because if you're going over really rough stuff, they don't, with thinner paint, there are fewer bubbles. I just like the feel of sables, but yeah, this is synthetic. Usually for terrain I do use synthetics. I have a bunch, but most of them are too big. This one will work for some of this stuff. But yeah, these days I'm more into painting for me. I'll pull out the stops for Golden Demon, but then Golden Demon I don't have to convert. Like, this is what got me excited about doing Golden Demon again, is that people were winning demons, even gold demons, with unconverted but really well painted models. And I was like, yes, I can do this. It takes a lot of oomph for me to want to do a big conversion production number these days. It really does. I have to be super excited about it on a deep emotional level. All right, so let's get some of this gray here. I'm going to do a base coat of the gray, and then we're going to do a lot of wet blending, stippling, and stuff like that. But I like to, especially because we're painting right over green stuff and we're painting right over cork, I like to have a base coat down first. And then we'll start blocking in shadows. I want to put some leaves on this too, some fall leaves, because October. So the grass will be, I'll use, when I use static grass, I'll use like burnt grass or more of the brown grass tufts, or I'll use the dark green and just dry brush them with whatever color I want. I do like the dark green static grass because it does let you just, you know, highlight it because I'm going to dry brush it anyway to highlight it, so you can pretty much change its color to almost anything. Because the green is so dark it doesn't really read. And once we do have a uniform base coat on this, we can really take a look at it and see if everything blends in and looks natural together. Which is another advantage of doing that. So I'm almost finished with my metallics PDF for the Patreon, which Quindy linked earlier, patreon.com/paintingbig. I put some metallics head to head, a lot of brands of silver metallics, or as close as I had to silver, just to kind of assess them and see what kind of flake they were using and like what their differences were. There were some differences, some surprising ones. I definitely know what metallic is brightest now. And it's not the one you might think. It surprised me. All right, so yeah, getting a nice uniform gray on here. We'll start to get a feel for how well everything looks together. Yeah, I know. I should have it. I should have it on a block, Big Chimpo. I really should have it on a block. Like, I knew it. When I put my finger over here, I was like, I'm going to have to be careful or I'm going to paint my finger gray, right? Normally I would have it on a block, but I did not have a block immediately to hand that was the right size. I don't know if I do. I think all my big blocks are in use because I'm painting a couple of big things like Fishy. Fishy's taking up my big block right now. I guess I could go get another one. I have bags of the things in the other room. So I should probably remind myself. Thanks, Big Chimpo, for the reality check. And I will actually probably do the gravestone the same. And then we'll change it as we apply different shading and stuff. Now in here I am just going to apply, in the crack I am going to throw in some of this dark right away. Because I did keep my dark color pretty thick, so. So we can keep that on the darker side in there. Oh, there are days, Big Chimpo, where I paint my thumb. Trust me. Trust me. Just having painted for a long time and being pretty decent at it does not protect you from the inevitable thumb painting that happens occasionally. Especially when I feel like I needed more caffeine this morning. I'm happy it's the weekend though, guys. Happy it's weekend. And hey, next week is a 3-day week. For many of us in the United States anyway. If you're in Europe, no. Yeah, sorry about that, Europeans. We wish you got Thanksgiving along with us. We could all celebrate play video games together, or do whatever. Do whatever we do. Now there is a nice, you can see there is a nice rough texture, subtle texture to this tombstone. So we will be bringing that out later, but for now I just want to get it base coated. I also want to mix up more of my gray here because I'm already, because when you're doing terrain, you're going through the paint so fast, and I already am, even though I've painted only half the base. So I need to mix up more of this stone gray and brown liner mix, which if you recall was 4 drops of stone gray, 2 drops of brown liner. Oh, hey, cool. Well, 4-day vacay because weekend, right? That's awesome, Trash. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the 4-day weekend. It's great. It'll be fun. I have to like seriously start. I probably should order some of my Christmas presents that I already know what they are before people hit that day after Thanksgiving. Or regret I have to order my Christmas presents now. Should at least do David's. Many of my family wants gift cards, so my parents like gift cards. And I need to bug my brother for what to get for Graham. He'll probably say GameStop gift card, but... And Lauren's away at school. She may only get gift cards at this point because she's collegiate. All right, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just got one of my Kickstarters that I've been waiting almost 2 years for, and that seemed like a Christmas present. I don't know if I need anything. I'll think about it. I'm going to be ordering from Big Child for David. Don't tell him. And of course, while I'm in Big Child, I might decide to, since I have to pay shipping anyway, I might need something for me. Because I haven't gotten anything from them since our Archer lady. You guys remember the one we're painting for the paint along for the Kickstarter? She's really cool. She's getting her red hair on now. She's going to be a very interesting version of that model when she's done. Very different color. I was going to show you guys. Let's see. Ooh. They're having a sale. Should I say that, guys? Should I say that? Having a sale. So the one I'm going to get for David, let's see here. If I can't find it quick, then I'll pass. But yeah, let's say there's a lot. Big Child Creatives is, if you want to challenge your budget, you should head on over there and look at what they got. Because they got some nice stuff. Let's just say that. This one. The one I want to get David is... Uh-oh. Are you going to load? Are you going to load? Is very long. This one. Get him the dragon guy. I know he likes it. Because he was like, I pay attention. Yeah, free ship. It's not, I don't know if it's like free shipping. I don't know if they have a free shipping because international, but they definitely like, if you're going to pay that much for shipping, you may as well just get more than one model, right? Rather than get another model at a future date and pay even more shipping. So, yeah, right, exactly. So yeah, now I'll go look and see. I mean, I've got so many good models though. Although maybe I should look for something to paint for my brother and his family. Because actually, a couple of the Echoes of Camelot models might fit. Because they're 75s, they're really nice, and I can order the non-nude ones. I really like the Merlin, but I held off because David wanted to paint that one. But I might hold, he hasn't touched it, so he actually prepped his Lancelot first. Yeah, no idea. But I have a little extra money set aside for holidays, so I can do it. Doing okay financially now, thanks to you guys. You guys keep me afloat on the Reaper side and on the Patreon side. So thank you everybody for enabling my freelance lifestyle that I love so much, and that it has let me actually raise the puppy really well. I feel like she's so good right now. Like for a 4.5-month-old puppy, for a 5-month-old puppy, she's really good right now. Like David doesn't know how lucky he is. And I feel like part of that is having been able to be home with her, right? Because working from home. And that is all because of you guys, so. There's a little bit of money from Reaper, and then the money from my Patreon are what keep me going. And then a little bit from my personal Twitch channel. But that's Kiki money, as you all know. That's the Kiki fund. That's for treats and shoes. And boy, that dog is going to run us out of money on bully sticks, I swear. Alright, so I switched to a smaller brush, a Reaper Zero, to get around the feet of the kitty. You know, we do kind of have that, Trash. There is more than one time, like there's a couple models on David has his shelf of models. There's been more than one time that I've kind of been eyeing one of them. He's been like, if you want to paint it, paint it. I've had it for years and I haven't touched it. So we kind of do. But we always ask, right? It's not just an open menu. But he's tossed models at me before. My biggest challenge is just time. Especially with the writing, because so much of my spare time got funneled into the writing. And then, you know, doing these PDFs and videos for the Patreon does take time. But yeah, in the evening, and then playing video games with him in the evening. I have been able to put my foot down here and there and just say, hey, I'm going to paint and not play games this evening. I probably just need to do that more often. And just, lately we've just been enjoying Overwatch 2 and a little bit of the intro to the WoW expansion. Oh, I didn't play WoW last night, so I couldn't take a screenshot of my Dragonborn for you guys. I was going to call it a Dragonborn, and Blizzard can get irritated at me if it wants. Because that's what it is, darn it. Except with wings. Alright, so now we can look, and we can see. Painting elves, that's funny, Trash. Yeah, we could do that, probably. I mean, we would both need an exempt shelf, though. A shelf of stuff that we really, really want to get to. We're just not there yet because other things are taking priority. We'd probably need that because there, like, some stuff that he stole, I wouldn't mind, and then other stuff I'd be like, Yeah, I own Morgana, and I own, the Green Knight. And I passed on a lot of the other ones, but they would be a good, like, a knight is a pretty good subject matter for, you know, if you're going to paint something for your family. They're pretty cool and all that. Or I could do the Lady of the Lake. I'll just have to look. Alright, let's get this tombstone figured out here. We definitely have lighting. And if I want to preserve my zenith here, then I'm just going to take my lighter gray and paint it appropriate places. Green Knight is awesome, but I want him for me. I don't want to gift him. Like, the Green Knight's always been a favorite character of mine, so. But yeah, it's Green Knight is a fantastic model. It's an amazing model. Gorgeous. Really, really beautiful. So I'm going to try to keep my light grays up on the top here, just to kind of keep my zenith. Yeah, the Pirate Lady's not bad, mostly clothed. Which is nice, because they definitely have some much more naked models. I wasn't into the Pirate Lady until I saw the painted version, and then I was like, oh, that's pretty nice. I like it. Grab my light gray again to get these parts down on the bottom. Yeah, I mean, don't go browse their site if your funds are strapped at the moment. That's for sure. They're got a lot of beautiful stuff. And the other thing I'm getting David for Christmas is his own set of Games Workshop side cutters, because he always steals mine, and I'm sick of going to fetch them. Oh yeah, trash for sure. Yeah, I had to. We're just not playing anything right now, right? The closest I get to playing a game is watching Critical Role episodes at this point. And it's just priorities. I have a limited amount of time. And role-playing games take up a big chunk of time every week if you're in one. And right now, it's just not a priority. I would like to, but would I like to more than I would like to get other things, like do other things in my life? No, not really, sadly. I probably made up for that during college when I was in like 5 different games. We had a game almost every night, my group of friends. It was a wonder we got any homework done. And with me, it's like I love having a routine, and so once I have a routine, if RPG isn't in that routine, then it's got to fight to get its way in there because I'm happy with the way I am. I don't know, if we had a group that right now was like, hey, let's run some D&D 5th edition, and maybe I would do it. I'm very picky about the game I do right now, though. Because when my time gets so narrow, when I have so little free time, when much of my time is mapped out for the day and for the week, I get real picky on what I'm going to spend my time on. And so I'm just not, like in the olden days, I would be like, oh yeah, sure, let's do a game every week and let's just do a one shot of something random. But now I'm like, no, I really only want to play if I'm going to play a game I really like. Yeah, solo drilling games, Yeah, that's cool. Pretty much any writing helps writing, I think. I'm in the middle of NaNoWriMo, so I'm writing every day. Yeah, that's good for you, Grey Wolf. Good prioritization. If you're like me, you've got more than enough minis and paints already anyway, so. Alright, let's start blocking in some shadows here. We can see our kitty, we can see our tombstone, we can look at it. I'm pretty happy with my stonework at this time. It looks, the kitty's base stones look like every other stones, so I'm actually pretty happy. I mean, I could have maybe done a little bit more shaping on them to make them these a little less flat and more like this one. Like I feel like all those stones around Kitty are pretty consistent, but that this one I got a little flat on. So, oh well, that's okay. And then of course the stones down here on the groundwork, they're more rough, and that's okay because it's down on the lower part of it. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, it's real cold. I mean, if it's in the 30s, it's okay because it's freezing that hurts paint. It's a hard freeze. But if you are getting it from somewhere that's even colder, like maybe Colorado or whatever, or if it has to travel through really cold states in the meantime, then yeah. So I'm going to start blocking in some shadow here. And I'm going to pull in my gray to kind of wet blend it a little bit in. I'm going to pop in a little bit of brown here and there. Just little touches of kind of earth color. And since it's wet blended, it's going to be grayish. It's going to be a very grayish brown. It's going to mute it out really fast. But I want that hint there. I can always come back in with a more pure version of this and mix some of my white into it as well, or my Cairn stone rather. Oh, 25. Yeah, yep. That will indeed be the hard freeze. Yep, no paint, you're right. No paint. For anybody who's just tuning in and doesn't understand the problem, when paint freezes, essentially the water starts to freeze, and the resins and silicates and surfactants are not like as vulnerable to freezing. So the first thing that freezes is the water, and what that does is it squeezes everything else out of solution, or at least a bunch of it. As the water freezes, everything else kind of compacts, and then eventually the whole thing is hard frozen. And the thing is that you can't just shake the paint to get everything back in solution. That stuff had to be put in a high velocity industrial mixer to get it into solution in the first place. So you aren't going to get it in solution just by shaking, even with your little vortex mixer. It's just not going to work. It might seem like it works, like for a few seconds or even a minute, your paint might look and feel creamy again, but then it's going to just start separating out in a very profound manner. You know that you have a frozen paint if it's turned to dust, or most of the time that'll happen with metallics, by the way, or if it is kind of cottage cheese is what I call it, like it's got a chunky texture. I think I had a bad bottle of, I might have pitched it. I had a bad bottle of Turbo Dork that illustrated this point. I should have just kept it around to show you guys what I mean by cottage cheese paint, but yeah, it's like it gets clumpy, kinda, and that is the sign that it has been a hard freeze. So that paint is defective. At some point in its life, before it got to you, it was shipped in a cold climate or unprotected in winter, and it separated permanently. And the only thing you can do then is get a replacement. Yeah, because at that point, yeah, for sure, Grable. If it gets left on your doorstep for 8 hours, it's going to freeze solid, and then yeah, totally get it. So I've switched to a thinner brush now so I can do detailing. I'm starting to line between the stones to bring them out. I'm going to grab some of my brown. It's a little bit too, I've got a little bit too much on my brush. Sandy. Yeah, I don't think it's sandy because it's like a little bit chunkier than that, but sandy could work if it's really gritty. Maybe some brands more than others. I'm going to mix my brown with a little bit of my Cairn stone. See if I can pull a slightly lighter tan. And get some of that in there. We want to get a little bit of lighter color on the dirt between the stones. Like I said, we don't want Kitty to be the lightest, brightest thing because he or she, can't tell, long dead. And I don't know how to assess cat bones for evidence of whether it was a girl or a boy. But we don't want Kitty to be like the brightest thing, like that's just going to draw all the attention. We want the necromancer to be pretty solid up here. and for us to look at him first and then notice the little kitty. The kitty will stand out just because it'll be lighter, right? And you want it to stand out because it's a cool part of the mini diorama. I'm going to block in while the paint is wet. I'm going to kind of wet blend in some shadows here. To get some variance on there. Hey, Sky's Clear. Thank you for the resub with the Prime. 39 months is freaking impressive, man. Or girl. Person. Dude. I guess dude is considered unisex now. I thought that was kind of funny. I mean, I always thought it was dudes and dudettes, but apparently that is passe now with the kids. Dude is dude. I was once lectured on this by a 20-year-old, so I know. Dude is perfectly acceptable. Dude. That's good. I'm kind of fond of dude. Probably because it comes from the 80s where I grew up. Although technically I suppose dude was earlier, right? Dude ranches. It's been appropriated. Modernized. Why don't we get more like old slang terms that get modernized? I guess we get some. All right, so a little bit of stippling on this stone will help to bring out a bit of texture and variance, even though it's smooth. And it'll pretty much just look like a subtle texture. I'm just kind of dotting, making a lot of little dots. They're very small dots because I have very little paint on my brush. It's kind of a granite texture. I think they're qualified to lecture on their, they're absolutely qualified to lecture on their own culture, Pendrick. Right, I am certainly not an expert on what the latest slang is, and they are. So it's cool. Gotta learn the social rules to exist in a community, and in this particular community, it was an Overwatch community. There were a lot of kids. There were some older people too, but there was a lot of kids. So a little bit of grit. Man, I remember what it was like to be 20, and I was dumb. I look back at my 20-year-old Anne, and I'm just like, why? How could I have been that dumb? Seriously. I may have more aches and pains now, but seriously, I'm pretty happy where I am. I don't have that much more aches and pains. When it comes down to it, I'm actually in better shape now than I ever have been. All right, let's get some of these dark lines in to set off these stones. I can also put a shadow right under the stone up against the cork work, which is going to just help give it a sense of mass and accentuating that overhang there. And then I got a nice deep, I dug a deep hole there so I can accentuate that. So let's just work on these stones here. I'm taking my shadow color and I am accentuating all of the deep pits here that exist, the irregularities, just to make it look like a really cracked rock face there. was just like stupid about I'm stupid about time. Didn't realize. And I was very unaware of my own, like, how I undermined myself. I did establish some useful habits during those years. Like I became a walker. I got into the habit of walking every day during my collegiate years and post-collegiate years. A habit that is still with me. So I did do some decent things back then. But man, there we go. So again, just kind of some stippling to bring that rock up there. Yeah, I think that right there is a lot of college students. There are times I want to yell at myself for not like getting serious about my writing, like because I've been wanting to write and I've been writing since I was a kid, but I always let the fear drive me away from the page. And to be honest, yelling at myself about not doing something creative, kind of like total waste of time, right? And in addition, like I didn't have the perspective or like just the ability to write the books that I'm writing now. So I'm going to take the Cairn stone and make some lighter edges on some of these guys to make it seem like they're like scraped. Oh, I've got the book. The book is going to my final proofreader, and then it's going to be published. I'm going to indie publish it next year, Zachariah. I was thinking January, but this last edit has taken me a long time, and so it's a pretty substantial world building edit, and so my proofreader probably isn't going to be able to get it done by January. So that's fine. I can push my my date forward. It's not like anybody's waiting on it. It is the first book, and the second book also will be hopefully out next year. Hopefully, I want them to be pretty close together because they're written, but I fear that the second book actually needs a lot of editing, and so that may push off that as well. Either way, I will have 2 books out next year. That is totally doable. Originally, I was aiming for 3, but I may only manage to get 2. So when I wrote the story, Pendrake, I wrote it very much in a fairy tale kind of mindset. And fairy tale magic, you never explain, right? It's just fairy tale magic. And so if it had the right feel, I used it. However, my beta readers, it's like it bothered a couple of them that the magic wasn't a little more logical, which is just a personal thing, right? But I did admit to myself that I am very bad about really strictly writing down my magic systems in advance, and so I decided to really explore the way I'd done magic and really see what kind of consistencies there were, and to actually set out my how magic works in my world more tightly. And that meant going through every single chapter and where magic is used, making sure it was consistent. And in most cases it was, but I could add details, or I could, make it more of an experience, right? So that is what a world building edit is. And in this case, it was a magic system world building edit, but it can be any sort of thing like that, where maybe you write the story and then you realize that it really isn't good set in that city or town, and so you go back and change the setting and key places, and you add details and do research, or you travel and go to those places so that you can write more about them better. That would be another example of a world building edit. It takes a pretty darn good editor. This was my professional editor, my second professional editor that I hired to look at it. And she actually had more chops than the first one, so I got a lot of feedback from her that originally I felt my gut pushing back against, but I gave it time and I really looked at it objectively. And I ended up taking a lot of her suggestions, and I do feel like the book is better for it. I can see what she's talking about. Sometimes, even in painting, we we get a suggestion, and our gut kind of pushes back against it. Like we're like, no, I don't want to do that, right? And that my stuff is fine without that, But let yourself think about it. Let yourself ruminate about the feedback, because in the end, you may try it and then realize, oh, this is cool. This is cool. I like this, right? So it's about learning to take feedback. And I know part of the reason that I let myself kind of sit with it for a while is I know that in the past, I have been bad about taking feedback. I have resisted it. And it has probably kept me back. So this time I sat with it for a while. So I still have it's very fairy tale magic, and it's not a Brandon Sanderson system. You're not going to be able to do it by the numbers, but it is consistent. It is a consistent magic system. It has magic comes from consistent sources, and it behaves in consistent ways. But I still kept, I think, the fairy tale feel to it. And it was not easy, by the way, to try to do that. Try to quantify fairy tale magic, figure out a way where you can make it work, make it consistent. It wants to fight you. So now we're getting these stones really looking cool here. Yeah, fairy tale magic is an amorphous and fanciful thing in it. And you want part of that. You want that magic. You don't want to lose the magic. But you also don't want to be contradicting yourself with your magic. So I put an awful lot of years and hours into this book, these two books. There are two. There's duology. Uh-oh, the water. The water has been left within pupaw reach. I hear. I may need to go rescue it. Yeah, but even then, there's no guarantee that even if you make those changes, your book may not sell. Most books don't sell. Straight up. It's the sad truth of being a writer. You won't know until you get it out there. I'm going to go rescue the water from the pupaw real quick, guys. I'm going to leave you with this kitty in the meantime. Enjoy your view of the kitty while I rescue the water bucket. I really need to put a reminder on my phone for that in the mornings. Popster knows when it's like time to bark at mama. The more like. There we go. I still think there's a physical cue. There's got to be like the light or something. Who knows? But yeah, and they have a point, like, she had a point that a lot of teenagers would want more details of the magic system. Now, part of the magic system is definitely I'm trying to kind of like have reveals as we go along. So I discarded her advice to like essentially, do a quantification of the magic system straight up. But she also didn't necessarily understand how many books there would be either. And you know what? If the books don't sell, I don't know how many books there will be. Probably 4. But then I might give up and go and write something else. Yeah, I mean, Xanth is kind of... I mean, it's almost fairy tale, right? Because Xanth like, well, everybody's got powers, and those powers do different things, and each of those powers is defined within its own like set of things, um, with a little wiggle room. But I've come to realize that I'm not really into like doing a hard magic system a la Brandon Sanderson. I enjoy his magic systems a lot, but sometimes I feel like it gets in the way of the story. Like, it definitely aids and abets the story in various ways, and he's very good at utilizing it to do that, to enhance his plot. But sometimes I feel like it does get a little bit in the way. Yeah, I feel like, well, my books definitely have, I mean, our magic, obviously it's fairy tale magic, it has wiggle room. Needs wiggle room to live. And I like a little wiggle room. I like and well, even then, I guess you have to be consistent within what your world is. It's been an adventure to write 2 huge books because these are managed to edit it down to like 89,000 words, book 1, and now it's back up at 101,000 words because edits. And I asked an edit one of my editors, and she's like, "It is extremely common for your book to suddenly go up in size after you edit because you are adding scenes and elaborating on stuff that needs elaboration." Because I was alarmed at first. I was like, "Oh no, it's getting bigger." But yeah, it's trying to get everything to line up, everything to be consistent. Never think that writing is an easy job, guys. Like, this takes a lot of like mind-numbing work to go and just double check, triple check, make sure that this is consistent, the timeline works, this magic is consistent with here. When did so and so say this so that I can make sure that such and such says this later, you know? A little bit more dark down here. I want to get a nice interplay of dark and light, and now I need to bring more of my brown into here. Yeah, I suppose you can write poorly pretty easily, I guess. If I just wrote my books and like tossed them out there, I guess that would be relatively easy. But they would not be good books. There would be lots of holes. And I do have a need, like, it is part of my personality. I have a need for things to be good. So, my definition of good. So I have a definitely that sort of feel. Well, some people enjoy garbage fluff. I mean, quote unquote, you know, some people enjoy like just having something to read and they're not like super picky about what it is. As long as, and then there are writers who are like who have lots of flaws in their writing, but the strengths that they have like overcome that. Like, I definitely have enjoyed books that don't have the best plotting, but I love the characters, for example, or I love the world. And so I'll keep reading it. Even though I know the author, you know, isn't the best at A or B. I will read it because they are awesome at C and D. So it's like, yeah, what you going to spend your time on, right? And there's also some of the authors, you know, once you're a full-time author, if you're relying on that income, you have to meet deadlines and maybe your books don't get as much work as they used to. I find that I saw that a lot in some of my favorite writers from like the 90s who maybe put out a book today and you can kind of tell that there wasn't a lot of editing involved. They just put it out because the fans will buy it, which is a shame. So getting some brown tones into here now. Yeah, I prefer prefer in general reading like pretty high quality prose. So there aren't a lot of writers that I'll read that have big weaknesses in their writing, but sometimes. And now these two little things I'm going to actually make as kind of crumbled edges of stones. So I want those to be gray. I want to highlight them. Yeah. See, that's what I've been doing lately, Grey Wolf. That's actually part of my world building edit, is to check consistency. And that takes work. And it's boring, and it's like it takes forever, and it can be frustrating that you keep missing stuff. And I mean, if you're trying to write a book a month, which, you know, so many people seem to think is the way to go these days, I don't agree, then you're not going to have time to do all that. Personally, I'm going the more moderate. I figure that at the speed I write, if I continue to devote this much time to it, I'll be able to put out 2 books a year. That's an optimistic assessment. And that's if the books do well. If the books do not do well, then they're not worth that much time. And I'm a completionist, so I will eventually complete the series, but there might not be as many books in it as I had first had thought. Yeah. Yeah, Trojan. Yep. And people like that are people who are voracious readers will just read. And the quality, quote unquote, the quality, somebody's perspective on quality won't matter to them because they just want to be reading. Like, it's what they love, right? So yeah. I don't really diss anybody's writing these days. Like, I would never call any writing trash. It's just what that person's priorities are. Not everybody is wired to want to put out something really, really good. Some people just want to tell stories. Some people love to write. And they just want to put their books out there. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to read them if you don't like them. God knows with, 8 or 9 million books in the Kindle store these days, you certainly have choices. It's one of the most puzzling to writers things in the world that, you know, it doesn't necessarily, even if your book is good, it might not sell. And books that you may consider worse than yours, quote unquote, will sell. And it's just one of the mysteries of the universe. So you cannot assume, even if you are a good writer, I consider myself a pretty good writer, just based on feedback from all of my classes and edits and betas and etc. But that's no guarantee that I'll succeed. And I think coming to terms with that is something a lot of writers don't, and then they get into trouble. And I might have, if I hadn't had enough time, like honestly, if I hadn't taken so long to write and edit and get feedback on this book, I might have fallen into that camp where my dream would be destroyed and I would be like left in kind of a shambles. But I've been doing a lot of realistic reading on the market. I understand it now, so it's not a deal breaker for me. When it comes down to it, I just want to write books. So I'm just going to write books. And if they succeed, awesome. If they don't, then I write a different book. Because it's the writing that's the reward for me. It's the world building and the storytelling. It's the fun part for me. So I had to like figure out what my success thing was. Yeah, exactly, Crowley. It's exactly the same thing. Not exactly a page turner, Grey Wolf, huh? Yeah, and some people write for fun. I mean, I still want the thing that makes me different there is I'll be writing for fun for myself, but I'm also still going to try to make the book good because that also is a point of enjoyment for me. Frustrating as it gets sometimes and monotonous as it can be. I still really enjoy when the book reflects what I originally wanted it to be in my head when I started it. So it's worth it to me, even though it's a pain in the butt and it takes forever, it's worth it to me to do the edits. There we go. So we've got some nice stony texture, bringing out all these little flagstones back here. Now we're going to move down and do more texturing down here. And yeah, you could just dry brush this if you wanted. There's enough texture here. You probably would have wanted to dry brush it in the beginning before you started getting more precise with the stonework, if you really wanted that to be. Yep. Thanks, Crowley. Thanks for being here. We'll talk to you later. Have a good meeting. But yeah, like there are plenty of writers out there who just write because they really enjoy making up characters and situations and stuff. And not just in the romance field, as you might think, but there's plenty of them in all the other fields too. So they just like to do it. I'm going to bring in more of my brown back here, warm things up here and there. I do want to break it up a little bit more though, so maybe I'll bring in my light gray on some of these flatter stones to suggest that they're crumbled bits that have fallen down. So let's do that. So I'm kind of using my brown tones mostly as dirt here and my gray tones as stone per se. Fussy baby is fussy again back there. But that's okay. She can wait. 10 more minutes, Pa. That's enough. Settle down. Gotta wait. We'll bring in some lighter tones. Yeah, I'm pretty much setting myself up this year as I may be doing like not so great on my nightly painting, but I'm doing really good on my daily writing. And I've kind of set up myself up this year to be November is NaNoWriMo 1, and then December is NaNoWriMo 2, and then January is NaNoWriMo 3. I have a lot of goals this year, so I'm kind of splitting it up. Because I need to get this first book to my proofreader, and then I've got to get the second book edited so that I can send it to a beta reader and an editor. And then I've got to start the third book in the series. So little bits of interspersed brown and grays, and kind of have them go back and forth and blend into each other. Nah, only half. I'm weird. I'm a seasonal writer of trash. It took me a while to realize this, and it was totally probably because of Nano. I got in the habit of writing in the fall. But even when I was doing Nano like 10 years ago, I would write in November and December because 50,000 words was never enough for me to actually finish a novel. So I would continue writing in December until I actually finished the novel at 100K words or whatever. And then I just realized these past years, as I've gotten more and more serious about my writing and devoted more time to it, that my writing season starts in October and it goes until March or April. Like sometimes it starts in September. It's about a 6-month cycle. And then all late spring through summer, I'm just not motivated to write. All my focus shifts normally toward painting or something else, or being out in the warm weather. And I just don't pressure myself to write at all. So it's interesting to realize that I'm cyclical like that. And to realize that actually it's not common, but it's not uncommon either. I'm a person who my ideas need time to kind of percolate in the back of my head. Some of you might be like that too, for painting or any other creative thing. If you find that you need time to just kind of let things kind of sit on a burner in the back of your head until they're ready, that's the kind of writer I am. So I will be working, and then I will take 4 months off and things will percolate. And by the time September swings around, I'll be starting to get antsy and in the mood to write because things that have been percolating will be like, hey, oh, I'm excited about them. They're ready to be written. Yeah, I don't think I could do a nano year mo. I think I would burn out. That's why I was like, I could never write a book a month or even a book every 3 months. Because I need that time. I'm a thinker. I'm a definite like thinker person. It's like my evening walk. Like sometimes I listen to audiobooks or podcasts, but sometimes I will just walk and think about the book and the story or the character. Because I need that time. It was hard to make myself realize this. Because the standard NaNoWriMo actually, it works for me, but it doesn't. I can make myself write the words, but the book will be such a mess by the time it's done that it'll take so much editing. So lately I'm trying to repattern Nano to be a little bit different. Because quick impulsive writing is not my strength. Thinking and planning and strategizing and kind of ruminating on stuff, that's my strength. And then when it comes down to it, the one thing that Nano does play to my strengths in is focus. I'm very good at focusing. So Nano works for me on that level because it makes me focus for 30 days and I can do that. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, book a month is exhausting. I mean, a lot of people have tried to do it in the past, Agent Marvel, and most of them burned out, apparently, to hear the books I've been reading talk about it. Even one of the main proponents of it has backed off and pretty much admitted that now he's done a book every 3 or 4 months, and because the other one wasn't sustainable. But it's just realizing that your readers could read a book a day from you, right? They would be quite happy if you put out a book every week, right? If they're voracious readers. But you're never going to be able to satisfy that reader, right? So the most important thing seems to be building expectations. So if you're not going to do a book a month or a book every 2 months or 3 months, then as you publish, just make sure that, I'm a book every 6 month author, and you can more or less get a book every 6 months. That kind of thing. The people who really got into trouble were the people who set that blistering pace and then cut way back because they were burning out and lost a lot of their readership because the readership had been set up to expect that from them, and then they couldn't get it anymore. But yeah, that's one of the hardest things is, and it's in painting too, is figuring out what's a realistic expectation for yourself. A lot of the time I feel like we have expectations that we'll be able to get things done that are far outside, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but they're far outside what we actually have the time and energy to get done, right? So probably the best thing you can do for yourself is to step back and try to understand your cycles and your habits and kind of assess how long it really takes you to do something. That's something I'm doing in this edit, by the way, is I'm keeping definite track of how many days it takes me to edit this whole book with a pretty intensive edit. And then I'll have that benchmark. And I won't have to guess anymore. I won't have to say, oh, I think I can do this in 2 weeks, or oh, I think I can do this in 6 weeks. And I'll know that it took me X number of days or weeks on my first book. And I'll know what shape that book was in at the time. So like, I know I can write a novel in a month. I think I wrote last year's Nano. I just let myself write something fun, an urban fantasy, and that book went to 75,000 words, and it took me 63 days, I think, to write a whole book. But that book needs tons of editing, tons of editing. Yeah, I used to be a voracious reader, Dogfather. I would get a stack of books every weekend at the library, and I would read through all of them over the course of the week. I would get like 6 to 8 books every week. And I would just bust through them, because in the evening, after school, after homework, and in the evening, that's all I wanted to do was read. Yeah. Yeah, and that's just human. That's like something that people do. So one of the best things you can do for yourself is to take a step back and kind of like just kind of benchmark yourself, take a look at what's really realistic, and be like really gentle with yourself. Like don't rail on yourself for not being able to do all these things you think you should be able to do. Just be like, no, this is what I can do. This is a pretty good pace for me, and even if I don't make that pace, I'm still not going to yell at myself, right? But it'll help keep you from overcommitting, because overcommitting just makes us sad, because we commit to somebody or something that we care about, and then we like fail it because we've overcommitted. And then it just feels bad, right? Because it's not just us then, it's the thing or person we care about. So getting on top of yourself and kind of figuring out what's realistic for me not only helps you, but helps the other people that maybe you like are like, oh, I can totally paint this for you, or I can, do whatever for you. Now you can say it and mean it. And if things come up, as they always do, just communicate. All right, I think this is actually looking pretty cool. Like this cork looks, turned out looking really neat. I got some random shapes to it, like little bubbles and this little string of bubbles, and then a couple other ones kind of here. Got some really interesting shapes in it. And then some more stones down here. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why we get a backlog, right? Yeah. Totally understandable. But yeah, don't get down on yourself about it, I think is the thing to do. I mean, if you feel like you're kind of, if you feel like it's kind of strangling you or sitting on you or suffocating you, then definitely take steps to find new homes for those minis with somebody who will love them, just to make your own mental health better. But just don't beat up on yourself otherwise. I mean, paint stuff. Just paint stuff when you have the time and energy for it. And enjoy it when you paint it. Don't paint it because you feel like you have to or need to. That's me. That's why I'm just letting myself play computer games lately. So I'm working really hard on my book. I don't need to also work really hard on my painting. It pretty much means a 15-hour workday for me or whatever, right? So I'm just letting myself have some fun in the evening and not trying not to yell at myself about not painting. It's hard. It's very hard for me. I'm always very inclined to criticize myself. I grew up in a very critical environment. So I just have to stop and remind myself that it's okay to just slack. Collector and painter rather than just a painter. Yeah, I have another person I know who does that as well. And I mean, that's Ron, right? Ron Hawkins. Ron is definitely a collector rather than a painter now, but he gets so much enjoyment from it, right? So... all right, guys, look at that. We got some stonework base done. It looks nice and natural. Just imagine how good it'll look when we start adding like little bits of like leaves and grasses. You got some nice variants in it. I could even add some more buff color stuff, but this is kind of nice because it's cold and kind of dead and feeling, right? It's definitely graveyardy feeling. So we'll get more into all of this stonework then the next time we talk about Kid A. But I'm glad to have this back part done. This is a good like proof of concept of colors. So I'll definitely I need to take. Let's see. Do I have a card for Kid A? I don't think I've got a card for Kid A. So I need a card for Kid A to remind myself of the colors used. So I need to do a card. Let's get our bigger brush. But yeah, mostly I've just come to the conclusion that the world beats me up enough and I don't need to beat myself up on top of it. So there are going to be times when I just don't feel like painting. And if I had committed to making a painting habit, then I would actually make myself paint for like 10 or 15 minutes a night, right? If I was trying to build that. Which right now I'm not, so it's okay. And it's like that, people tell you should do X or you should do Y or you feel like you should do. And just kick that to the curb, really. You should do what makes you happy and takes care of your obligations that you must satisfy, right? Anything beyond that is whipped cream. Icing. All those tasty sugary things we can't have. Well, I mean, there's hoarding is when it gets to the point where you can't even move in your house, right? I hope none of us are quite at that point. All right, so I'm gonna make my little card here. Let's just write down what colors we used. Then I can file this under the kitty. All right, so this is a 4-2 stone gray, brown liner. This is brown liner plus some gray. Not a big brush full. This is stone gray. This is nut brown plus griffin golden brown. I added some shadow to get more yellow in there, and this is Cairn Stone. There, and now we've got it all written down, and we've got swatches, so I can match it. There we are. We'll just pretty much I put it on my shelf right under Kitty, so I've got it. That's very cool, Zachariah. I've also got sick of too much stuff, but I moved so many times between the divorce and the move out here that it naturally pared down my stuff. An orc stompa. The kits are fun, but they can be like too much, right, Dogfather? I feel it though. I like the orc models. I've always liked them. All right, guys, it's time to hashtag free the Kiki. So we shall call it. I was on late, so I stayed late, and I hope you guys have a fantastic Friday. I should be on tomorrow. I'm not sure what we'll work on tomorrow, either the Anubis or this lady again. We're doing a bit of stuff on the NMM on her, but I may go back to Anubis. I'm kind of feeling it. So I'll be on my twitch.tv/paintingbig tomorrow, I think around 3:30 p.m. USA Central Time. Come and hang out. Oh, yeah, cool. Oh, numbers on the spruce, but not the instructions. Oh, that's so annoying, Dogfather. Oh my gosh, Ermagerd. Yeah, I'll see you guys. Those of you who tune in for my stream, I will see you tomorrow. Kiki says, bark, bark, bark. You all have a great weekend, okay? Bye-bye.